one gentleman that most people in the golf industry know, and you know, we've known each other since the late '70s when we both played on the tour. His name's Peter Jacobson, and I had run into Peter a year ago at the merchandise show and asked him how he was doing, because he's had more surgeries than he cared to remember. But he was starting to play again, and we talked about, you know, playing in the senior PGA, and you know, we decided to let's hook up for a practice round. So we were playing with DAY, bringing Bobby Gilder and Pete and I, and we were having a great time. Walking off the 8th green, fairly long walk to the 9th tee, I said to Peter, Peter, what would you do if you had the best fitting system in golf and you couldn't get people to listen to you? And so we started talking. Peter had just gotten on with Cleveland, and they'd put a set of clubs together, and he was saying, you know, I don't think these things are very good for me, and yada yada. And I saw there was a little lead tape on the back of them, so I stood next to Peter, and his arms hang that much higher off the ground than mine do, and his clubs are about a quarter-inch shorter than mine. And so I knew he didn't have much confidence in these golf clubs. He went out the first day and shot 77. The next day, Friday, I had stopped at a golf store and bought some lead tape. Went out to the putting green. He was teeing off on 10 when I was teeing off on 1, and I'd run in with the putting green about an hour before, and I said, hey, Pete, you want to weight those things up? And he said, let's do it. So I put 7 inches of lead tape on each of his irons. That's about a little more than 3 swing weights. He went out and hit 15 greens, shot 73, didn't putt very good, but he was ecstatic on how good he was hitting the golf ball, how solid it was right from the start. And I said, Pete, well, that's just a sampling of what we can do. We know they're still too short for you. So he had an obligation on that Monday, and then Tuesday flew into Lincoln here and spent 6 hours with Greg and I. Greg got every one of his clubs balanced out throughout the set. He went out, the next day he was playing in Des Moines, their tournament there, made a hole-in-one in a practice round, or in a Pro-Am. 3 weeks later had a top 10 finish, which was his first in 3 years. So Peter was obviously very happy with the results of the fitting and the results of the clubs that we produced for him. And so, you know, that's another great testimony from a really good player. So we've got, you know, a lady that, you know, was a decent player on this end, and we got a first-class tour player on the other end, and we fit you know, everybody in between. We know the system works, and mainly because it's just logic and common sense and a little bit of performance thrown in there. So anyway, we're excited to get this in a lot of people's hands. Obviously, get it in pros' hands across the country and across the world.